They are one of, if not the most influential tuners that car culture has seen in the last 2 decades. They chop, cut, weld, and pimp the out of one of the most iconic sports cars of all time. And love it or hate it, you know what it is, RWB. But as controversial as they've always been, they have never been under more intense scrutiny than right now. So what is the story of RWB, and why, after more than a decade of building Porsches, does it seem to all be crumbling down now?
It all really starts with the guy,
Akira Nakai. Now, Nakai-san was in his early 20s in the late 1990s in Japan, which, first of all, very jealous. And second of all, it's no surprise that a true car guy like him would be fooling around with cool cars as much as he could. And that brings us to RAUH-Welt. And this was a car club that Nakai-san was not only a part of, but essentially led at the time. And you know the vibes. These guys were the baddest MFers on the planet. Cigarettes, JDM cars, drifting, and well, who knows what other shenanigans they were getting themselves into. It was a rough world, and this was Nakai-san's foundation for his craft of working on and building custom race cars. I mean, these guys would literally do initial D-type hill climb driving in AE86s on mountain roads near the iconic Tsukuba circuit in Japan. Like the type of stuff that you would do in modded Assetto Corsa, but in real life and with much cooler friends. Anyways, RAUH-Welt was well known for their enthusiast scene at the time and got some serious notoriety in period magazines of the time, who were doing features on the more underground car scene. But as you can imagine, running a club like RAUH-Welt, well, it takes a lot of dough. I mean, events, facility costs, and not to mention the car building itself was all really expensive. So naturally, Nakai raised money the best way that he could. Now, not working at the strip club, by doing body work. And it was here where Nakai-san was trying to fund a local drift group that he encountered the car that would take him and his mastery to a completely different planet. It was a 1985 Porsche 930 911. Yeah, it was broken, badly in need of repair, and judging by all accounts, a lost cause to most people. But Nakai-san isn't most, if that makes sense. He saw nearly infinite potential in this 911 that struck him as something very, very special. And I mean, he was right. The 911, especially the earlier air-cooled examples, were and still are an incredibly unique automobile that practically embodies the crooked yet genius imagination of engineers and designers. And Nakai-san just happened to be one too. So instead of putting the owner of that broken 911 through the headache of repairs and bills, he took it off his hands, probably for pennies on the dollar, and started on a project that he'd always dreamt of, a custom, race-inspired 911 build. And this is where the RWB foreshadowing hits hard. He stripped everything out of the car that was dead weight. He fixed and tuned the factory flat 6 turbo engine to make around 360 horses, slapped on a race suspension setup, and made a few cuts that one day would be found on hundreds of special Porsches just like it. He cut the fenders, folks, in all of its sacrilegious glory. He got rid of the factory Stuttgart bodywork and installed his own custom wide-body kit, turning what was once a sober-looking sports car into a cocaine-snorting, steroid-injected Porsche race car for the streets. It was something that no one had ever dared to do, lest they be protested by the Porsche Purist Club of the world. Outside of Porsche's own factory racing teams, this dramatic transformation of the perfect road car was completely unheard of. It was an unadulterated sin in all the right ways. And I'm here for it. And that was the middle finger that Nakai flipped to the Purist, and it didn't stop there. This thing also got big wheels and bigger brakes, a huge wing, carbon fiber replacement parts, and a wild racing interior. And to top it all off, a big windshield banner that was fitted as well. But RAUH-Welt was a little too on the nose, so he called back to his time in Belgium, where he once traveled to as a younger man, and instead translated RAUH-Welt into German. And that's where the name RAUH-Welt was born. And the B, well, that stands for Begriff, meaning understanding in German. And that fond Belgian memory manifested itself once more in the car's official name, Stella Artois, his favorite beer. And all of this Porsche hearsay unsurprisingly got Nakai-san noticed. Articles and features in big magazines like Speed Hunters and others spread the gospel of these chopped up badass Porsches to critics and fans alike. And because there's some real crazy Americans out there, well, it's no shock that Nakai-san found himself in a California shop ready to build the first RWBs for the States. That shop was Mark Arsenal's spot, the guy behind Illis and Fatlace, and the very first guy to go to Japan and ask for Nakai services. He was also involved with another guy who loved loved Porsches and was looking to expand the scene, Brian Scotto. Heard of him? And in 2011, with the help of an RWB representative, as well as the two guys that I just mentioned, Nakai would build the first two RWB Porsches in the United States, one for Mark and one for Brian. And aside from Nakai's own Stella Artois, these two are the most recognizable on Earth. First, Panda 1. Mark's car. This green monster is just that, a monster. It's a 964 with a completely built 3.6-liter turbocharged engine, gorgeous rotiform wheels, a green roll cage, hydraulic suspension lift system, and of course, those iconic RWB body kit looks. Then there was Brian Scotto's car, another 964 turbo that Nakai and he designed and built to a truly immaculate spec. A glossy, flat white with giant wheels, a stunning red race interior, a massive wing, and a whole lot of power. It was fittingly named Hoonigan, as an homage to Scotto's company he was launching with the late Ken Block. Rest in peace, dude. We love you. These two made the car community implode. Anyone with an internet connection who liked cars at the time saw these two cars and either went to grab a pitchfork or to find the money for their own RWB. And because of those first few iconic builds, many people have done just that. There's not an exact number that's been made public by RWB, but according to Mark Arsenal, who now works at RWB, in 2023, he said that there were over 400 in the world, meaning now, well, the estimate, is at least 500 plus. Now, it might sound like a lot considering the humble beginnings, but folks, these are insane race cars. In fact, there are more than double of these in the world than Ferrari F40s ever made. But wait, what is the actual process of getting an RWB built? I mean, how do you get one built for you? Well, first, you gotta find a car. Nowadays, Nakai will do many different generations of 911s, including 997s, like the one that your boy has. I think it looks pretty good. Plus, he will do some other unrelated models as well. And once you find a car, which is not gonna be cheap or easy, you have to make sure that you are okay with it getting cut up into a bunch of pieces. Yeah, and if you're cool with that, then you can contact RWB to have a meeting with Nakai-san himself to discuss your joint vision on what this RWB commission is gonna look like. And once that's all settled, well, you gotta make sure the car and parts are prepped and painted before Nakai will come and install your RWB body kit. And having been to a couple of these builds, he literally will do it in about 48 hours in front of your eyes. It is insane to watch this man work. I mean, this guy is so in tune with his craft that he mostly just uses his eyes and hands as a measuring device for the fender cuts. I mean, if you haven't seen it, it is insane. He sits there with a cig in his mouth, drinking a Coke, takes an air saw and cuts up your Porsche by hand. And shortly after, you got a one-of-a-kind wide-body Porsche with a custom everything and some insane bragging rights. But it's exactly that, the cigarette smoking, Coke drinking, hand fabricating enigma of Akira Nakai that leads me to the juicy part of this video, the controversy. Folks in the social media car space often get fed videos of Nakai sitting in his cool chair, smoking a heater, and nonchalantly cutting up a perfectly good Porsche before using what looks like a bottle of adhesive to stick the fenders on and call it a day. And you know what? If I didn't have any of the context, I'd probably be as confused as you, or maybe your friend, and maybe a little bit annoyed. I mean, look at what this person said under an RWB feature article. They see some pictures and videos of Nakai using tape to secure something underneath the car, or famously using glue to hold in a tow hook before finishing the build. They are outraged. A hack, a glorified body kit maker, a phony. These are all things that he has largely been labeled as by the online community. And the hate is only fueled by people on the other side who also lack context, labeling his work as absolute perfection and the single best in the world. The reactionary nature of this controversy is self-perpetuating and seemingly unending. So what is the real side of RWB? And does Nakai-san actually deserve the hate for this? Well, here's a few thoughts. Automotive purists, the folks that see any slightly desirable car that's been modded and call it a disgrace, are always going to be out there. There's keyboard warriors. I see them all the time in the comments section. And for Porsche especially, the purists are intensely critical of aftermarket modifications and wild, out-of-the-box builds that mess with the perfection of a pristine, air-cooled 911. And these purists, they've been around since Nakai first began doing this, and even long before that. I mean, hell, back in the day, the slant-nose 911 turbo cars that were a factory option, by the way, got a ton of hate for messing with the iconic shape of the 930 era 911s. Flakba all the time, baby. I love them. So it's no wonder that Nakai's completely custom builds are disliked in that space. And as far as the quality of the builds go, with the whole tape and glue accusations, there is a great comment by a Reddit user that I think makes a whole lot of sense. It reads, "A lot of people don't understand the history. It's not quality work. It was never quality work. It originates in illegal street racing in Japan where bodywork is often destroyed. Damage needs to be quickly repaired for the next race. Nakai-san's day job at the time was in a body shop, so he knew the proper way to make repairs, but getting it back out on the street for the next night was the priority. This rough aesthetic became its own thing, hence rough world concept. RWB is all about the origins. Its name is derived from an old street racing club that often did some grittier repairs to get their badass cars back on the road and taking home pink slips. And that method has stayed the same to this day. Because yes, at the end of the day, RWBs are neither perfection nor lacking quality, if you will. The body on some may look rough and some may look more precise, but the thing is, it usually matches with the aesthetic of the car. His first RWB, the Stella Artois, isn't the prettiest car to look at by any stretch. The proportions are somewhat wonky and the work is patchy in spots as well as the paint, but it's supposed to be a little ratty. It's a street racing car. And on the other hand, there are uber expensive modern RWB builds like my friend's 997 911 Turbo that looks absolutely insane. Great job, Mark. I mean, that car is ideal. I think all in all, it comes down to an opinion on preference, if that makes sense. People will always clown on RWB owners for spending way too much money on a build that they believe won't make it perform any better or look any better. They are entitled to that opinion. And on the other hand, well, RWB lovers will always gravitate towards Nakai's unique style of bodywork and defend his creative vision, and they're entitled to that as well. Nakai, in reality, is just a car enthusiast who found a community that appreciates his work and will compensate him for what they view as art. It's rolling art, and he is fulfilling his own passion, making a living, and providing people something that they paid money for. Oh, and by the way, the whole tow hook situation, that wasn't the final install of the tow hook. It was only temporarily put there for the reveal, so don't worry. Anyway, I think the controversy that I just spent minutes explaining can actually be summed up pretty well by this guy's Reddit comment. People get pissed someone's chopping up a pricey old 911. A lot of the owners are douchebags. It's not good value for money, and social media gets worked up about value. Guy himself is chill though and just doing his thing. One common big criticism of Nakai that we came across during this research was this, that doing it himself isn't even that impressive, but is only seen as amazing because fewer people do that kind of work nowadays. And while that may have some truth, and while RWBs might not be built to the standard that like a Singer or a Gunther Works or a Workshop 5001 has, one thing I can say for sure is that Akira Nakai and RWB have built something rarely original in the car community, and it has unquestionably impacted car culture in a way we have never seen before. So, what is your take on RWB and Nakai-san? Do you think RWB is ridiculous, or do you think that it has a place in the enthusiast sphere? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this vid, well, like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. Check out these Ideal vids over here. I'm Brad, this is Ideal. We'll catch you next week, and promise me one thing, keep living the Ideal lifestyle.